Hey, Adam,
Geez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they called bumpers, Gary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning, at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sweet Talk, our weekly podcast here at Idaho State University's Continuing Education and Workforce Training. I am one of your hosts, Paul Dickey, the Video Instruction Manager and Apprenticeship Coordinator here at Sweet. And as always, joining us is our Interim Director, Raylan Price. Raylan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Paul. It's a fantastic Friday. So we love fantastic Fridays.
Yeah, most listeners know that we typically record these sessions on Friday. And that's what's great about this is because it's a nice way of going into that weekend, isn't it, Raylan?
It is. It's a fun way to go into the weekend. And the temperatures have raised a little bit. We're not in the negatives anymore. So that's also fantastic, at least for me. So
yes.
yes. So it's good time. Hey, we've got Angie Wilhelm with us as well. She's our marketing coordinator. Hello, Angie. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. Happy that it's thawing out a little bit outside, but I know it's preparing for our second winter, which will happen after the thaw and another snowstorm. However, with the melting weather, it kind of reminds me of spring, especially coming from a semi-ag background, owning livestock. And that brings us into our subject today. Today joining us is Mark Sharp. He is an instructor for ISU's College of Technology. He is the instructor for the Unmanned Aerial System program or certificate program we have, as well as the instructor for our continuing education programs. And this year we have something new. It will be an unmanned aerial system for ag that we're very excited to introduce and talk to. So we'll get a review of all of those drone programs today. Welcome, Mark. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I've been with the college just about 4 years ago. I came up here to Idaho from Reno, Nevada, where I developed a course involving with drones. And prior to that, I flew military drones in Iraq and Afghanistan for 3 years.
Wow.
I'm a retired U.S. Army. I was in Army Aviation as a Huey and a Black Hawk flight engineer.
So you have lots of experience flying, not just drones, but other equipment as well. Yes.
Well,
Yeah, Mark,
just
how did
glad
you? Oh no, Mark, how did you make that transition to drones in the military?
Well, to be quite honest, I got tired of looking at, after looking at helicopters for 20 years, I wanted to move on to something different. And I noticed that drones were starting to become an emergency or emerging technology within the military. So I figured, what can I do with this in the civilian world? So here I am.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool.
And then,
No, go ahead, Angie.
Go ahead.
So how long have you been teaching the drones? You said you started a program in Nevada and then moved here.
Yeah, correct. Actually, when I started working with drones, I just retired from the Army and I switched over to a Department of Defense contractor. I was teaching tactical drones at Fort Huachuca, which is located in southern Arizona. Following that, I did that for a couple of years. I had some interesting folks came up and talked to me and said, "Hey, would you like to, make quite a bit of money flying these things overseas?" And I asked how much, and they told me. And 2 weeks later, I've been training. So I also had a stint too. I was working with underwater drones off a drill ship off the coast of South America. So I had a bit of experience doing that too. And once again, I returned to unmanned aerial systems, and I did quite a few tours over there. And once I came And once I was kind of done with that, my wife was saying, hey, you're getting a little bit too old to be playing in the sandbox with the rest of the kids. So she made me get a job. And since I had an instructional background with the military, it transferred over to a community college in Reno. But basically, I set up the program. At the time, commercial drones were still emerging. So it was difficult, to find a group of people willing to learn. But nowadays, as you can see, the world of drones is exploding. And I'm so glad to be here at Idaho State University to be a part of it.
Yeah, it is exploding. Years ago, I actually helped put together an online course for the university on drones. I think his name was Captain Steve Egger, and I learned so much about the use of drones because, Mark, maybe a lot of our listeners don't know all the uses that drones have right now. Could you just maybe give us an encapsulation of what drones are used for currently?
Yeah.
Well, based off of what we do with our course, we're rather aiming towards probably 4, maybe 5 different career fields with these. For example, our first semester, our objective is, first of all, to train the students to be able to pass the FAA Part 107 test, which is the commercial drone operator's license, allows us to fly for money. And after that, our course is basically structured to be able to fly civil engineering missions. We have 2 or 3 drones specified for that. We're also, we do a little bit on the search and rescue side, depending on the circumstances that we have. Yeah. Civil engineering is probably one of our prime. This is what we first got started with. Civil engineering, for example, surveyors are now using these systems quite a bit. We're also getting into critical infrastructure inspection. We just won a grant to get a new drone, which is specifically designed to do that. Is able to automatically inspect a bridge, for example, and uses artificial intelligence to determine the amount of damage. We basically just point the thing at the bridge, it figures out the rest for us. It's just some of the amazing new technology that we have. Some of the students also, they want to go for a little bit further on the technical side of the house. So after my program, they continue on within the College of Technology with a robotics and communications program. That's where they get quite a bit more deeper into the systems. Like they want to continue on with the development or operation of different payloads.
I have a question for you regarding an upcoming class you're teaching for SWEET. This one, obviously we, as always, we have just a traditional introduction to drone flight, but this year there will be an unmanned aerial systems for precision agriculture. I was very interested in this when you stopped in to talk about this class. Can you tell us a little bit about this class and then how drones are used in agriculture?
Well, this has actually been a push for me. I've actually been waiting to get more involved with this actually within the last couple of years. Idaho is probably about 3 or 4 years behind some of the surrounding states that we have because of that. Well, part of the thing is, once again, our agriculture here is very seasonal. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is with farmers and ranchers, they tend to be a bit more on the traditional, operate off the traditional methods. But now they're starting to realize some of the capabilities that some of these platforms are able to get into. Just as a matter of fact, within the last month or so, I've been contacted by 2 large agricultural growers who are actually starting these fleets, and they've already started hiring my students out.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they use them for in ag? What's their primary purpose?
Well, one of the things that we have is, especially since drones are involved with civil engineering requires us to be able to provide precision mapping capability, often within centimeter level resolution. What that allows us to do, is that allows us to be able to collect the data, especially being a drone. We were able to cover large areas in a very short amount of time. Now with a newer level of sensors, we can actually obtain the resolution that they need. So our objective is basically to collect the data for the farming or livestock, ranching operations, whatever it may be, and be able to direct it down to some of the new smart farming technology that's coming out. So some of the objective is, for example, we can cover a couple hundred acres easily and be able to downlink that information to an agricultural operation or livestock operation, who in turn can translate that information and feed it directly to, for example, variable rate spreaders. So now these variable rate spreaders what they can basically do is they can much more precisely control the amount of fertilizer, herbicide, whatever that they're applying to those crops. And it's right now, from what I understand, it's saving thousands of dollars. Well,
Wow.
plus it's helping protect the environment because now we're introducing less nitrates into the soil. We're also able to much more closely monitor the amount of moisture. Either we need more moisture or we need less moisture over here, and we can display that visually. So now the farmers can react. For example, they're using a pivot sprayer. They're now at the point where they can actually control each spigot on a pivot sprinkler. As it's rotating around, they can exactly apply what they need at that point of land. So not only we're saving them on, especially fertilizer is becoming so much more expensive nowadays, but now they're much more able to precisely control the amount of water that's going on to this, which is also a tremendous savings to them.
That's really
So-
interesting. Oh, go ahead, Paul, and then I have a
Well,
question.
no, I was saying, you were saying earlier that some of the farmers, traditional farmers have not adopted a lot of this because they are staying with the traditional. How are you getting word out to ag farmers that this technology does exist? Or is that something that, you're not doing, but, is there a way of getting that message out?
We were trying to get the message out, but once again, myself, I'm trying to get smart on precision agriculture myself. As I said, I was a military drone pilot. And for the last 3 locations that I lived were all within the southwestern deserts.
Mhm.
So, which brought me with very, very little knowledge. Idaho was the first place in 15 years where I had to buy a lawnmower. Let's put it that way. So that's my level of agricultural knowledge. So now, once again, now I have to get myself smart on this type of technology. So now I'm getting more involved with working with some of the larger growers around here, to determine how do we do this. The flying portion is the easy portion. Matter of fact, we set the mission, we push a button, the drone does the rest.
Hmm.
So when we come into land, because the other part of it, it's not just flying the drone, that's the easy part, but the data collection. Okay, we got all this data, what do we do with it?
Right.
How do we perform the data analysis of that? Or or who do we give this data to be able to enact it? And how can we more rapidly, respond to, changes within the environment of Southeast Idaho itself? So one of these things we have is very variable weather. Are we in a drought? Are we in a flood? So how do we manage to perform the mission planning and data collection to match those?
That's
Wow.
very interesting. So when they take this class through workforce training, will they learn how to fly the drones? Will they learn but will they learn about drones in agriculture to where they can utilize that? Is it like hands-on?
For right now, we're going to offer basically
Like an introduction kind of to it?
That's correct. It's going to be an introduction class. So we're going to provide them some small drones. They're typically beginner drones that
Okay.
gets them, because part of the toughest part is getting the hand-eye coordination, which is necessary to fly these things, especially in very tight confines. Or for example, one of the companies that we're already talking to, the drones they have are actual sprayer drones, and these drones are large enough that you could probably put a saddle on top of it and ride them. They're that
Wow.
big.
Oh.
Yeah, so what we do is we get them, okay, how do drones work? How do they think? How can you fix them out in the field? What's the theory? What's the legalities of it? It's all the little things that go with, with flying these things. For right now, probably the growers, once if they start working for one of the growers or one of the crop spraying companies, the crop spraying companies will then basically take what the knowledge that we gave them on, smaller commercial level drones and be able to apply it to a much larger drone. The concept's all the same, but now it's like working at scale. Because one of the we did recently, very recently, require an agricultural scouting drone. And so you can hold this thing in the palm of your hand, but it contains a very high level multispectral camera. It operates extremely quickly. And but one thing that seems to be discovered, that drone becomes a pathfinder for the bigger drones.
Wow. Okay. So it kind of maps out where the bigger drones can fly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
okay.
awesome.
These part of the things, these drones, as I mentioned, these drones are big, but once again, their primary duty is to be able to dispense the drones within, dispense the product within a certain pattern. So they're not really designed to be able to operate, in close confines. One of the biggest problems they're having is, for example, is maintaining their altitude over obstacles. The scouting drones are responsible for that. They'll be able to fly over an area and note the changes in the ground altitude or the ground elevation. If there's any obstacles, whatever that these big drones would have it, you can now take that data, we can feed it directly into the larger sprayer drone. So that's one less thing it has to think about. It already knows the information. Now it's able to go out there, be able to spray the product.
That's
Wow.
awesome. How much are the sprayer drones being used in our area? In
When it
southeastern
come-
Idaho?
Matter of fact, I think, Paul, you're probably over there, yesterday. We went to the growers, I guess the ag.
Oh, good.
Big
You
ag-
went to the Ag Expo. Good.
Now
Okay.
there's now 2 new companies. Matter of fact, one of my students had interviewed with the one that's located in Preston.
Nice.
I believe it's called Airfield Ag. They're just changing their name. And they're looking to be able to cover hundreds of acres
Wow.
at a
Wow.
time. They're basically buying a fleet of these sprayer drones, and now they're gonna be able to operate them and be able to spread them out. These things will be mounted on a trailer. Everything will already be, measured and determined by the scouting drone. They basically feed this information, and they spread themselves out, and then the sprayer drone will be able to perform the applications for them. So they're looking at probably operating about 10 to 20 of the large sprayer drones simultaneously across an area.
Wow, that does seem quite a bit more efficient than the sprayer planes. And probably
Yeah.
they can get into areas that the planes maybe can't get into. Is that correct?
Yes, matter of fact, that was one of the things, I can't say I was dogfighting with the sprayer drone up in Blackfoot, or anything like that, but yeah, that is a concern, but sprayer drones still, they have the advantage of something that we simply can't match now is the amount of area that they can cover within their within an amount of time. But one of the issues they have with the ag sprayers, the crop dusters, is once again is be able to precisely control where they're spraying. When one large issue that they have, for example, they're flying on one farmer's field, some of that, for example, herbicide may drift over and contaminate a neighboring farmer's field and stuff.
Right.
So that's one of the big major issues that they have. We're able to much more precisely cover that. So maybe right now, kind of the current thought is we may be operating in tandem. For example, a very large plot may be simply much quicker for the ag sprayer to be able to cover it. We're more into, for example, the smaller plots of land. Also, if there's for example, if we have certain types of crops growing within close proximity to each other, if they're up on a hillside, or if they're intermixed within forested areas, that's basically where we come into play. We're much more accurate, much more able to confine the areas that we're applying a product.
I see. So crop dusters for the larger areas, the smaller drone sprayers for areas that the crop duster can't really get into or
Yeah.
might cause
Mhm.
damage or.
So, Mark, I know with your students, you're always looking for ways of getting your students flight time. Do you ever offer local farmers, basically examples of how drones could help them in their processes, just so that your students may be able to get flight time?
Matter of fact, we actually offered that a couple of years ago. We're working with a program. It's called Lychee, and basically what it does is allow us to perform precise waypoint missions with a drone that you can buy for $400 from Costco. And it even has the capability where you can actually put on a pair of virtual reality goggles and observe the feed directly from the drone itself. You'd be able to look
Wow.
around in the camera of the drone. But we're able to automate some of the missions. For example, matter of fact, Angie was mentioning with livestock. What we can able to do is we can have the drone inspect, for example, the livestock fence by itself, or check on the product, see where everything is at the same time, monitoring operations. Matter of fact, when wood prices were going through the roof, some of the tribes up there in the Pacific Northwest, they're actually using them as security to monitor their lumber yards.
Wow.
So it's just an amazing capability. The drone was $400. The program was $25. Probably best $25 I spent in my life. The VR goggles, I got them on sale for like $19.
Wow.
So with that
So-
amount of money, so as a matter of fact, I'd much rather have a drone, checking my fence line when it's 20 degrees outside than riding out there in an ATV.
Yeah. So, Mark, if someone was like, say, maybe interested in your program, but would the ag course that we provide may give them enough taste to make them give them some examples of whether that might be a pathway that they choose?
That is it, guys. Matter of fact, one of the first pathways that I failed to mention too is also videography. We have 2 students who are probably going to be going to lower campus after that. National Geographic videos, a lot of the movie scenes, it's all filmed by drone.
Yeah.
So we're trying to take these applications that students are learning now and be able to bring it over to the agricultural field.
Nice,
That's
nice.
great.
We are actually running out of time. If anyone listening is interested in our drone class, you can find that on cetrain.isu.edu. And the course title is Introduction to Unmanned Aerial Systems in Precision Agriculture. That course will start May 13th of 2024. It is 12 contact hours, and that's $99. And I believe that may include the drone. So again, that's cetrain.isu.edu. Now, Mark, if someone is interested in reaching out to you to learn more about the certificate programs or to reach out to you to possibly come fly through their farm, how would they reach you?
They can reach us through, for example, student services is probably one of the best methods to do so. They can arrange a tour. I actually encourage the tours to come in. That way, the student or prospective student will actually be able to hold the drone in their hands, so we can show them what these things can do. We can bring them to computers and show them the software programs that we use to process the data. That way, they can sit there and physically see it. The weather is nice enough. Sometimes we take the student outside with a drone and say, "Hey, want to fly this?" We put the goggles on them, and that way they have it's so much better when you're actually flying it in your hands. Just
Right.
the difference it is. That way, it helps put in their mind, this is what I'm going to be involved with.
Oh, that's awesome. Very nice.
Terrific, terrific. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. I'm a big, I love drones. And Mark has helped us out on numerous events on getting footage of our events from a drone perspective, and we always thank him for that. We really appreciate working with you. Now, if anyone's interested in our programs, you can thanks, Raylan. I don't want to miss thanking you guys. Thanks, Raylan, for being here. And Angie, I can't do this without you. And again, if someone's interested in our programs, you can either check out our webpage at cetrain.isu.edu, or you can email us at cetrain@isu.edu, or you can give us a call at 208-282-3372. And thank you so much. And again, if you find this podcast informative, it's our way of outreaching to the community. Please like, share, and subscribe, and be safe out there.